This cake. If you saw this cake and thought it was just a throwaway gag in Across the Spider-Verse, you would be very, very wrong. Because not only is it a key symbol in this film, but I have a theory for what it means for the Miles Morales trilogy as a whole. I think this cake is a clue, a spoiler if you will, something left by the makers to tell us exactly what is going to happen in Beyond the Spider-Verse. And I'm here to share that theory with you. A central theme in many superhero films, and very often in Spider-Man films, is this theme of duality. And it usually means that there's a conflict between being Spider-Man and being Peter Parker. The two very rarely succeed together. If Spider-Man is thriving, it's because Peter's personal life is suffering. Relationships lost, loved ones pushed away. And whenever Peter's personal life is progressing nicely, it will mean he's neglecting his duties as Spider-Man and letting bad things happen to the city. Usually, Spider-Man comes to the conclusion that he cannot have a real life outside of his superhero work and will sacrifice one side of himself to fulfill the other. Duality. But Miles is different. Miles believes he can do both, and you might sum it up with the phrase,
"Here, can't have your cake and eat it too."
This old adage that you can't have your cake and eat it too is a lesson that you can't always have everything you want. But Miles has a solution.
Can't have your cake and eat it too.
Unless you bake 2 cakes.
Miles?
Unless you bake 2 cakes. The 2 cakes are not just a throwaway joke in Spider-Verse. They are a central message. Miles' solution to the duality of Spider-Man. You see, Miles is the anomaly in every way. In meta terms, he is black and not Peter Parker, yet he's Spider-Man. A fact that has already upset many bigoted viewers. But within the film, he is the one Spider-Man who is not supposed to be Spider-Man. He is the accident, the thing that breaks the rules and principles of the world that Miguel seems to think are unbreakable. This is how we should view Miles too, as the breaker of rules and precedent, because that is his answer to breaking the pattern that no Spider-Man before him has managed to do. Throughout the film, there are numerous references to the idea of repetition. There's the cake, obviously, but there's also the use of redundant words.
Why do people say ATM machine?
Who said that?
The M stands for machine.
Chai means tea, bro. You're saying tea. Would I ask you for a coffee with room for
sorry,
cream?
sorry.
Cardamom and non-bread, which is the same as saying bread, which is the same as saying chai tea.
Oh, I love chai tea.
No!
ATM machine, chai tea, naan bread. Things repeat even when they don't need to. And what the film is telling us is that we should break this habit of doing and saying things just because that's what we did in the past. The past doesn't have to dictate the future. Our ideas can change, which leads perfectly to the idea of canon events. Things that must take place so that balance can remain in the multiverse. Miles calls bullshit on this idea. Not only does he break Pavitra's canon event and saves Detective Singh, but he refuses the very concept of canon events themselves. Just because something was supposed to happen doesn't mean it has to happen. That is what Miles believes. Going against literally every other spider person out there, again, the repetition of spider people, he, as the anomaly, decides that he's gonna do things his way.
Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
But what is Miles' solution to the Spider-Man problem? How can he break this cycle of repetition, duality, and fate that seem to be haunting almost every single other spider person before him? The answer? 2 cakes. The way to break the repetition, the cycle, the doubling, is ironically to have a double yourself. To have another spider person be there to break the cycle that you can't always break for yourself. Across the Spider-Verse is full of spider people helping one another, and that is the answer for how they can break each other's cycles of misery. That is what the 2 cake metaphor was trying to tell us. Miles saves Detective Singh's life in Pavitra's world, and in doing so, doesn't just do the right thing morally, but he also gives Pavitra a chance to break his cycle, to break his fate and canon event. In doing so, Pavitra gets his girlfriend's father's approval, even though he is the police chief. Normally, the police chief in Spider-Man lore is always against Spider-Man, as we see with Gwen Stacy, and is something we saw in Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man films. This is something Gwen worries about too, that she is destined to not end up living happily ever after with Miles. Despite her obvious feelings for Miles, Gwen at the start of the film is paralyzed by the fear of the pattern, by fear that things will repeat themselves as they've always done.
In every other universe, Gwen Stacy falls for Spider-Man. And in every other universe, it doesn't end well.
This is a problem that Miles is faced with too, but he has a very different approach to Gwen. To really understand this, I want to deep dive into the moment when Gwen reappears in Miles' life and pay particular attention to the song used in the background. This song, Hummingbird, made specifically for the film by Metro Boomin and James Blake, explores the theme of what we might call determinism, the idea that our lives and actions are predestined and that we have no control over them. This is what canon events represent in the film. Certain things have to happen and shouldn't be fought against. In the song, James Blake sings about a woman who he calls Hummingbird and says that she's shown him things he can't unsee.
And Hummingbird, I can never unsee what you've shown me.
His life, for better or worse, can never be the same because of the wider world this woman has shown him. This is the same problem that Miles faces because he is obsessed with Gwen and what she has shown him, demonstrated by the endless amount of time he spent drawing her and thinking about her. In the song, the singer then asks the key question, would I sign up again?
Would I sign up again?
The singer asks if he would make the same choice he made before a second time. Knowing now that this hummingbird will show him things he can't unsee, would he make the same choice to be with her if he got the chance to do it all over again? Yet another instance of our theme of repetition. Well, Miles does get this second chance when Gwen reappears in his life. He is confronted with a clear choice. You've seen the pattern, do you want to repeat it? And he happily makes the same choice. Unlike pretty much every other character in the film, Miles is not afraid of fate. He's not afraid of destiny or patterns repeating or avoiding things because the canon event said it would be bad. He knows he can still control his own destiny, no matter what the supposed canon event is. And that is what makes him special. Inspired by Miles, Gwen too then manages to break her cycle by the end of the film. The cycle of being victim to what should happen. She does this firstly by going home and making things right with her dad, even though she initially believed that being a spider person meant you cannot share your secrets with your family. And crucially, note whose help she gets when she's there. Hobie, who is the ultimate breaker of rules. Hobie is the anti-establishment spider punk. He hates rules, and he encourages everyone around him to do what Miles ends up doing, break free.
The whole point of being Spider-Man is your independence. Being your own boss, you don't need all this.
Then why are you here?
Looking out for my drummers, all.
I want to be in a band. I want to see my friends, and I need a watch to do that.
Just don't enlist till you know what war you're fighting.
He literally helps Miles out of a prison, and in doing so allows him to become the person who can break the metaphorical cage the other spider people have put themselves in out of fear. And so this is likely what will happen in the final film of the trilogy, Beyond the Spider-Verse. Other spider people will teach each other how to break their patterns. The way Miles did for Pavitra, the way Hobie did for Miles, the way Miles did for Gwen, the way Gwen will now do for him. This is what the cake metaphor was trying to tell us all along, hiding in plain sight. Two cakes, two spider people where normally you would only expect one. Because we leave across the Spider-Verse with Miles in trouble and his friends eager to save him, no matter how much it may break the rules of the spider society that Miguel runs. And Gwen, having learned this lesson from Miles, is now the one leading the charge to defy fate and destiny. It doesn't matter if Miles is the anomaly, it doesn't matter what the canon event says. The other spider people, like Miles, are starting to understand that they have each other, that they're not alone, and that's all they need to break the pattern. They don't have to make the choice between doing things one way or the other way. They can have their cake and eat it too, as long as they bring more than one. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, then please consider doing one of two things. Firstly, if you'd like to support the content directly, then you can do so via Patreon and get yourself rewards in turn, like your name in the credits. Secondly, please do share this video wherever you can, particularly social media like Reddit, so that the channel has a chance to grow and reach a wider audience. Also, go ahead and tell me in the comment section what you'd like to see me break down next. I'm very open to suggestions. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching and have a great day.